everybody. Thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder to Merkabah Scholar Society members, make sure you guys check your email. For those of you who did not make the meeting yesterday, the link has been sent out for you guys to download the video of the link. So make sure you guys check your email so you can download the video if you didn't make the meeting yesterday. The download link has been sent to your emails. Also, this is the final weekend for Merkabah Scholar Society membership. This is phase 3. After this phase, that'll be it. It will be all the way up to $500 after this weekend. So make sure you guys take advantage this weekend and grab it. Final chance, final phase. Definitely want to get in. So make sure you guys go ahead and grab it. Links are in the description to do that. Also, as well, for the consultations, this will be the only month. As I said, I have a free month. So this will be the only month that I'll be free to do the consultations for those of you who booked and I've talked to already and met with. Awesome. I appreciate it. Been good talking to a lot of you guys. So for anybody who wants consultations, again, make sure you guys go ahead and book, because once the month is booked up, that'll be it. This will be the only month that I'll do it. As I said, I have some free time for this month. Planning out a lot of things, got a lot of work to do. So I have some times in between to do some consultations for the people who have inquired about them. So it's been good, going well so far. So make sure you guys, if you want to do a consultation before the month is out, make sure you guys go ahead and book. The link is in the description to do that. So getting into these rundowns. So we've been doing a whole bunch of videos. We're posting a lot. A lot of the segments that I'm taking out of these videos and putting out here are very important. They're going to go a long way towards information coming up. And again, there'll be part 2s, and I'll be ending off a lot of these series. So this is why I'm doing the rundowns, to get you guys familiar with that information. So most of these series will be ending off, and then some of these will have part 2s and 3s, and will continue, just like the Biblical Bible series, which is coming up. Also, the non-stick video will be releasing this weekend, so look out for that. It probably should be out tomorrow, tonight or tomorrow. So you guys will see that coming as well. So stay tuned, check your emails. Links are in the description for everything, for the membership, for consultations and everything. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of that. But we're going to get into this next rundown video. It's really important to get into Greek history. We got a lot more coming up with the Greeks, a lot more information on that pertaining to what's been happening recently, actually. So we're going to get into this rundown, get into this video. I don't want to make this too long. I appreciate everybody who's been supporting and everybody who's been appreciating these videos. Getting a lot of comments, a lot of messages about them. But this is important, meticulous information that I picked out specifically for specific reasons that you'll see later on. So important stuff, good videos. If you've seen the entire video, you understand what I'm talking about. But these specific videos and this information I picked is important. So as you guys can see how deep the information is going, as I said, the more deeper videos, of course, are in the DVD, the digital downloads, of course. And I wish I could put the entire videos on YouTube, but of course they will take them down. There's still a lot of videos and information I have on, what was happening with the corona and everything like that. So I can't really put that stuff on YouTube because, you know why. But let's get into this next rundown video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Again, take advantage of these cells while they're still available. And yeah, let's get into this video. So we know the ancient Egyptians taught math, they taught science, they taught about astrology, they taught a lot of things to these people who came in to learn. Now, it was a lot of stuff that you can learn, a lot of stuff that you can have hands-on training with, as far as the ancient Egyptians teaching about, crops and how to basically agriculture, everything like that. They taught everything. The difference was, the mystery school. In order for you to get accepted into the ancient Egyptian the mystery schools, you had to pass a series of tests. There was an initiation process. And the process was even tougher for anybody that wanted to become what the Egyptians call a hem netcher or a hemet netcher, which means a male or female priest. In order to get that deep into the mystery schools, there was a process, and this is where the basis of basically meditation, yoga, chakra work, all this stuff comes from the knowledge and understanding of the healing process of Sikkim. Now, it says here, Egypt was then the cultural center of the world where everyone sought wisdom and learning, and scholars came far and wide to study in the temples. However, few made it through
the arduous process of initiation into the priesthood. Some did succeed and took their teachings back to their homelands, where they taught others the sacred art of healing, of mysticism. Over the years, the teachings changed as the teachers developed and grew with their philosophy until each system had its own distinctive feel and energy. Now understand, this process, this test you had to take was a process of understanding how to feel energy. And it was a test that you had to take to prove that you can feel and understand different types of energy. This was a major part in the healing process and understanding how the ancient Egyptians were able to do a lot of stuff that they did. Now, one of the reasons why, of course, that the Europeans couldn't pass this process is because the calcified pineal gland. We also understand that having a lack of melanin played a role in you not being able to understand and pass this part of the initiation process and feeling energy and everything like that. So we know that, you had Thales, you had Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Pythagoras. We had a few ancient Greeks that were allowed to study in the ancient Egyptian mystery schools. And a lot of people say, well, they were Greeks. And that's another thing you got to understand. A lot of these first, because there is not a long list, and it's something you really got to think about. Remember, we are living in a society that is controlled by the conquerors, not the conquered. So they are telling a false history, and it's up to us to be researchers and go out and to put forward what makes the most sense. And this is clearly one of the things that they hide. The thing is, there are so many reports and depictions that the first Greeks that were initiated into the mystery schools were black or indeed mixed race, mixed black and mixed Greek, or mixed with something else, which is one of the reasons why they were able to pass the initiation process of the Sikkim and prove they were able to feel energy, because they were melanated. And this is one of the things that is talked about in the book Black Athena, understanding that the original Greeks were black, of course, before conquest. And it's something I'm going to talk about in the Sacred Science Volume 1 that's coming up. This is a long series that's going to be good. But we're going to get into a lot of this stuff. But we're black. A lot of people know this already. When you look at the depictions we see of Socrates, a lot of people argue a lot of his features were black. And we know, as I said, about Black Athena. And it's so much other things to point to this being so. The reason being, one, is there's only a small amount of Greeks that we could point to that actually made it into this part, the priesthood or the mystery schools of the ancient Egyptians. You would think it would be more. You would think it would have been a lot more information. And then also, you would think if they really got in there and got the knowledge that they need, it would be no need to conquer Kemet. So it's going to make a lot of sense in a second. But yeah, it says here, the origins of ancient Greek civilization. And it's commenting on the book by Barton Bernal. It says, Bernal rejects the theory that Greek civilization was founded by Indo-European settlers from Central Europe, which we know is bullshit. That theory, which Bernal calls the Aryan model, which it is, became generally accepted during the 19th century. Bernal defends instead what he calls the ancient model. The name refers to the fact that both Egyptians and Phoenician influences on the Greek world were widely accepted in antiquity. And this is easy for people to understand. One, you had the Aryans come down from the north after the Ice Age or what have you, started to come into what we know as Greece. And you had Phoenicians there. Eventually, as the Greeks admit themselves, that they were the ones who basically, they got the alphabet from the Phoenicians, which the Phoenicians got the alphabet from the Egyptians, because the Phoenicians were Egyptians. A lot of people get confused with the names. These are lazy black people, the Egyptians, Africans, whatever you want to call them. They, of course, was in that area. There's no reason for anybody to think otherwise, because we got to understand, one, if you're talking about Heraklion, which was that port, and we're talking about ancient Egyptians, Northern Africans being in that part of Africa for who knows how long. Of course, they would have, went north. Of course, they would be able to cross the Straits of Gibraltar to get over there from Spain and be in Europe, which they was. And if you ever flew from Egypt to Greece, it's not that far of a flight. It's really quick. You can fly right over there. Sailing, you can see how quick it would be to sail right across that area. It wouldn't take that long at all. on a boat. I flew back and forth between the two a few times. It wouldn't take them that long at all. But of course, they was in the area. And when you understand, the wars that happened, and when they came down and started to basically mix in and blend in with the ancient Greeks, how you got these mixed, Africans and Greeks and white people, Aryans, and this how they were basically infiltrated themselves into ancient Greek society. So understand, the Europeans that were too far from melanin could not be, initiated into the mystery schools. They couldn't get in. They couldn't pass the initiation. They couldn't pass the process. So eventually we know the Aryans, what they would have been called at this point, would go and mix in with every melanated civilization across the planet. And it's something you got to think of, connect the dots. You're in Kemet. You cannot get this information. You can't get into the deeper parts of the mystery school. So you remember that, well, wait a minute, these other races of people, these other groups of Africans, these other people who came into Kemet to learn, well, they got initiated. They got in. Let's go to these people and see if we can get in, which they couldn't get in as well. The mystery schools, even still, they taught what they taught, but it's not 100% clear exactly what the ancient Egyptians taught them or how much they taught them. But we can see from the structures and, what they have in these civilizations, like, in China and down in South America, it's amazing information that they must have learned from the ancient Egyptians. So they went to basically try to learn from them. They couldn't get in. They mixed in with everybody. They mixed in with, Chinese, came into India and basically took over and mixed in with them for a while. And we understand the whole concept. I talked about this in a Buddhism series about what happened once the Aryans came in and how they basically claimed they created Hinduism, Buddhism, or what have you. And a lot of this was going on. So we have to look at this. And again, you have to understand, go look around the world. We see during this time, we see melanated civilizations showing us the same type of knowledge and information that we see in ancient Kemet. And we see that there is a comparison of the knowledge all around the world as it is in ancient Kemet. And we know that these people came in to study and were taught by the ancient Egyptians, which everybody talks about. But then you see nothing from white folks until the fall of Kemet. Something to think about and piece this together. You also have to understand them not being where they need to be at physically. They couldn't really understand spirituality. They couldn't really understand what the ancient Egyptians was talking about or why certain things was even important. Imagine trying to get into this mystery school and you can't grasp the fact that you can't get in because of something that you should be able to do that these other people are able to do. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't wrap their head around it. And I'm going to show you guys in the Sacred Science series about, one of the reasons why this was possible, and also how Greek mythology, and this is another big thing. We talk about Homer and a lot of the ancient Greek writers back then. You got to think about who these people really was. So I'm going to show you guys how, when we're talking about Greek mythology, when we're talking about all these characters, Zeus and Pythagoras, Zeus and Prometheus, and all these other people, that the pantheon of Greek mythology, these people, these beings were created by the Black Greeks, which makes a lot more sense to me when you understand what we're going to get into. They created these Greek gods. Now, it's going to be hard for people to accept this. But again, one of the questions you got to ask yourself, if you created, the pantheon of Greek mythology, I'm talking about the Greek gods, powerful as they is, all the stories, the mythologies and everything, if you created them, why would you then later, if you're trying to, bring people into the understanding of, the whole Hellenization process, the whole Greek process. Now, as I talked about before, we know the ancient Egyptians understood a lot of it, but it makes more sense to understand that if these people that they were trying to force this stuff on understood it, but the reason why they understood it is because they created it. That makes a lot more sense, and that's exactly what it was. So think about it. If you're trying to push Greek culture, the Greek gods, onto civilizations of people, why would you not then use the pantheon of Greek gods if you created them? Why would you create Serapis? Why would you then go and dress like Egyptians instead of dressing like Greeks if you are the Greeks that created these powerful Greek gods? Think about that. If you have Hermes and Zeus and all these powerful Greek gods that's supposed to be white in your image that you created, why would you not push them as being the face, the forefront of your Greek religion? Think about that. Now, when we come in out of Greece, remember later the Greeks, if you look in Greece, what are they talking about? What are they worshiping? They're not worshiping Zeus. These Greeks is religious. They're Christians and Jews and Muslims. They're not into Greek mythology. They're not following the pantheon of the Greek gods that they supposedly created. Makes more sense when you begin to understand. But we're going to get into that in sacred science. But we got to look at that and understand, creating Serapis and why it would make more sense for them to go ahead and double cross and stab the Egyptians in the back who did so much for them. It will make more sense. I mean, everything starts to come together when you think about the Egyptians helping to build the Temple of Delphi and the Temple of Zeus. It makes more sense them taking the time to do this if they were the ones that created it in the first place, black people. And why then, when it was destroyed, the Greeks never rebuilt it, still in ruins. They never tried to fix it, still in ruins. During the entire Hellenization process, they do not push, these Greek gods. They don't push them across to everybody to try to force it onto the people. It's Serapis. It's something entirely different from what you would expect if you came up with the pantheon of Greek gods and Greek mythology. So now it's funny when you go back and start to understand the Greeks after the fall of Kemet, once they conquered and how they ruled and how they set up their civilization, and that their whole thing, their whole philosophy about, Greece and how they was going to run everything was based on rationality. What makes sense? What's the best thing to do? What makes sense? And anybody that's basing stuff off of, rationality, what makes sense, shows you one that they don't have a sense of spirituality. Now, when you take something that should be dealt with on a spiritual level and you don't deal with it spiritually at all, instead you attack it on a rational level, you change the energy of that spirituality. You change the energy of spirituality into something else. And for the Greeks, what they did, they basically changed the energy of spirituality into the energy of materialism, because to them, stuff didn't make sense to do so for spiritual purposes, when to them, survival and everything that really was important had to do with material. Eat, build, stay warm, so on and so forth. So it's like, what is the point of knowing this to cultivate what? If I can't grasp something spiritually, I got to worry about the physical, what I can experience, what's going on right now. So they basically based everything on the rational level of materialism. And in doing so, they created this energy of materialism. And we see that's exactly how everything basically began to spiral with them and begin to take shape as far as them building and going forward the way they went, them fighting over the lands the way they went. I mean, just think about it. It was like you had an organized process for a long time, and once they finally took over, they couldn't control themselves. The Wars of the Diadochi shows you there wasn't a spiritual process in sight. They killed each other. They didn't really care about anything. You had them come together. They couldn't rationally, separate the land. They was thinking about materialism. This is mine. I want this. This is better. And they fought and killed each other over our lands. So within their own frequency and atmosphere, they created this energy of materialism and began to basically conquer North Africa and the lands that was, formerly the ancient Egyptian empire. But now I'm going to read from Dark Light Consciousness about this particular point. And this is saying here,